Hey everybody, GC13 here, and welcome back to the Glitch Text Conspiracy Corner. Today we're going to talk about my favorite glitch text theory, one I've had for quite a while now. Miko, Five, and everyone else in their world are actually living in a computer simulation. To fit into the Conspiracy Corner, a theory needs to meet two criteria. The show needs to appear to support it, or else it's just a crack theory, and there needs to be doubt about whether the showrunners actually intended it. In this case, I think the manual published by the showrunners casts enough doubt onto their intentions. In it, Flixels are described as tiny robots that join together to form the amazing technology used by glitch techs, and which make up the glitches themselves. So, if all of these constructs are made up of swarms of what are essentially nanobots linking together, that does provide an explanation for how readily anything can be created out of Flixels, but the physical nature of nanobots also creates an expectation for how they should be interacted with. The very first rule you'd expect to have with these is that Flixel objects behave like physical objects, and you can see them, hear them, and touch them as you'd expect. Well, when a character can run smack into an invisible block because the Flixels that make it up haven't turned their graphics on, that's quite unexpected, isn't it? It's true that an individual robot built on as small a scale as Flixels supposedly are would be invisible and intangible to a human, but when they clump together to form a solid object that has all the give of a brick wall, there's no way you could miss that many robots that close together over such a wide area. You can't see a human skin cell, but put enough of them together to create a hand that's solid enough to slap you, and you'll be able to see that hand before it can hit you. That all means that unless the Crystal Crush programmers decided to add high-tech invisibility cloaks to the most basic building blocks of their game, something else must be happening. And I do think the explanation is far more simple. When programming a game, the physical boundaries of an object are technically distinct from its graphics. And just like with the Crystal Crush blocks, you can leave an object in place where it can block a character without turning on the sprite to show the player where it is. If everything is a simulation, then it's no muss, no fuss. If they live in a physical world, though, then the only way to make the blocks invisible is, again, way over-engineered for what the Crystal Crush blocks are meant to be. Actually, that wouldn't make the Crystal Crush blocks the first over-engineered glitches we've ever seen. Every glitch we've ever seen is massively over-engineered. Just not with unnecessary powers. Their over-engineering is on a much more basic level. Take the Ginkgo from Flunky Quest, for example. It's a glitch from an isometric game. In its game, it can go forward and back, left and right, all under control of the player. As a player-controlled entity, it has no reason to have any pathfinding AI at all, but even if AI-controlled Ginkgos exist and the glitch grabbed one's AI, it has no reason to know how to duck underneath a car, and no reason to be able to smell for a cat's trail or hear a shouted taunt. And yet we see our Ginkgo doing all of those things, despite having such an unsophisticated AI that it thinks that a cat, and a statue of a cat, are flunkies from its game. Never mind that all of these glitches come out far more detailed than any artist ever would have made them. Whether it's a Chomp Kitty from a pixely retro classic, or a Squatty from the latest 3D multiplayer shooter, all glitches come out with 3D forms, and most look like they were always meant to exist in the same world as our heroic glitch techs. It's almost like these characters all exist in much higher detail somewhere else, such as from an older, anything goes era of the simulation, and Hinobi is plucking them out of storage to use in their games. I wonder if the whole reason Hinobi allows glitches to happen in the first place, rather than just making more conventional games, could have something to do with them trying to get the simulation back to those old times. Now there's a crack theory worth fleshing out. All we know is that, right now, no matter how old a game a glitch comes from, and therefore how simple its graphics, it translates into the real world in such high fidelity that you can't tell what's a game and what's reality. Nowhere do we see that line blurred better than when Miko and Five are sent into the simulator by Emma to solve their respective pet problems. We've seen the simulator, though. It's not that big. So unless Hinobi also has access to TARDIS technology, making the simulator bigger on the inside when it wants to be, we have to ask what complicated setup that it's using to keep Miko and Five from seeing, hearing, or prematurely running into each other. Or the wall. Rick and Morty proposed a solution to that last problem, and while I've never found it convincing, I guess it's at least something. I also guess that if Hinobi can make an invisibility cloak, they could invisibly separate Miko and Five as well. But consider this. The simulator could be as big as it wanted to be inside, because in a virtual world, the spaces are as big as you tell them they are. Finally, consider the magical repairing powers of Flixels. A patch disk doesn't send out a swarm of robots to slowly glue everything back together, taking time to work from inside to out. It's a wave of energy over the area, and when the energy finishes washing over a spot, it's better than glue. It's completely brand new. Easy for a computer simulation, hard for real life. Just about the only thing they can't fix is death, which should remind everyone of the Matrix, where death in the Matrix is also final, even though it's all just a computer simulation. Never neglect the Doylist explanation. But those are my arguments. Invisible objects you can still smack into, glitches that have AI and graphics way more advanced than their game needs, a simulator that's bigger on the inside, and even the way patch disks work. All of them make sense in a world that's already a computer simulation, but a lot less in a physical world like you and I live in. What do you think, though? Are the glitch techs living inside a simulation? Or is Hinobi really just that good? If it's not all a simulation, then why are the glitches so much more advanced than the video games they come from can use? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more cartoon videos.